In my last video, I talked about how earning 2,000 euros from Google AdSense through YouTube advertising may actually have an impact on my life. But I also put in the question of what would this actually look like if I 10x that goal? And that exactly is the point that I want to talk about today. Because earning 2,000 euros per month from Google AdSense and also adding to that affiliate earnings and those kind of things, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4,000 euros. That is a good freelance income, I would say. But what if you were to shift that focus toward not earning that much, but actually 10xing that number? What kind of an impact would that have on your life? But also, how would you have to adjust and maybe do things differently to actually get there? And is the current vehicle you are building actually going to get you there at all? Now, this, of course, is not an idea that I came up with. I think I heard it from Tim Ferriss as well as Grant Cardone and probably many others in the realm of the internet. And I think that this is just a really, really interesting thought experiment and exercise to go through, maybe doing some journaling, maybe some vision writing or those kind of processes to really rethink how your reality might be able to change. Now, there are a couple of really interesting reasons to do this, which I want to talk about up front before jumping into the reality of my ideas around my own business and how this is actually going to affect me. One of the main things that comes to mind is that if you are shooting for 2,000 euros per month in monthly earning or income, then you might actually just end up doing exactly that. But if you're shooting for 20,000, maybe you will end up with 8,000. And even though that it's only less than 50% of your initial goal of the 10x, it's still more than 4 times as much as you were to have if you just set out to make 2,000 euros to begin with. So that is already one thing in itself. The other thing is that oftentimes I at least find myself that if I have a reasonable goal, I will also just put in a reasonable amount of work and maybe even thinking in terms of the processes that are necessary to reach that goal. However, if I'm completely shifting that and I'm 10xing the goal, all of a sudden I have completely different thought processes going through my mind in terms of if certain things are actually valuable to do, if I can potentially outsource something, if I have the funds to do that, and also if I maybe just have to cut down on certain amounts of work because they are not yielding a profit in this endeavor. And that actually, I think, is one of the most valuable aspects of this exercise, to figure out what are the actual points of contact where you have to adjust to make more happen. Now, there's of course this other aspect, which is thinking not only about the how do I get there, but also how does life look like if I reach that goal? And that in a way is like vision boarding, right? You are building an imaginative world as to how would your life look like and maybe even your business look like, and what kind of a potentiality would that all bring if you were to reach 10x the goal that you actually set out to do. Now let's start with this aspect in terms of how does life change if I 10x my goals. Of course, this is a ever-changing process, so this may not ever be true in the next few weeks or months, but as of right now, these are my thoughts. Now, first up, thinking about what does life and business look like if I 10x my goal. Maybe for a baseline, my goal for the year, and based on the statistics and this hypothesis from Social Blade, my channel is going to earn about 24,000 euros in the next 12 months from Google AdSense. So that's the advertising that is running on my channel through YouTube, and I don't actually have to do anything extra there, except for make videos and of course gain views, followers, subscribers, and all of those things. But then of course there are other income sources, and so far those income sources have pretty much linearly also grown at the same rate as my YouTube income. So based on that, I would assume that with the statistics from Social Blade and this kind of future prediction, that YouTube will be around 2,000 euros a month from here on out, not starting now, but by the end of the year, 2,000 on average. And pretty much the same amount would come from affiliate earnings. And so that would bring me to an estimation or prediction by the start of 2023 of around 4,000 euros per month in income or revenue rather through YouTube, as well as the affiliate earnings that are attached to that. Now, looking at that and taking the 10x approach, that would mean not 4,000 euros per month, but 4,000 euros a month, which basically means that it would be in a 12-month span, 480,000 or about 500,000 euros in complete earnings. And that number in itself, I have to admit, feels incredibly daunting, crazy to think about, not even real, because I don't ever know anyone who I have talked to making those kind of numbers, or at least not in a way that I have come in contact with that person personally, like sitting down for a dinner or something like that and talking about those kind of numbers. I do know people that earn around 120,000 in revenue. Of course, this is revenue as business owners, so that's not what they're taking home, but at least that is something that I have been in contact with. But numbers like this, 500,000 euros in a year's worth of revenue, is something that is completely mind-blowing to me. I have seen YouTubers talk about those numbers. I have seen people like Meet Kevin, for example, talking about making over $1 million in one single month from ad revenue and advertising, and of course also affiliate earnings and all of those things. But those are much more removed from myself, as in I only know them through the internet as a spectator and not as a personal contact. Don't think that I am completely used to those numbers. I have been living on pretty much 1,200 euros personal expenses in the last few years while building my business here and reinvesting pretty much anything else back into the business, back into equipment, cameras, laptop, those kind of things, instead of spending it on myself or going on vacation or, I don't know, going out for dinner and stuff like that. Those numbers sound completely insane. And even just a increase to 2,000-3,000 euros per month in personal spendable income would be huge. Now, how would my life look like and my business look like if I were to turn over about 40,000 euros per month in complete income or revenue for that business? Now, if I look at that, I would say immediately it would lift off a whole bunch of things out of my life, which I currently think about, consider, and take always with me as I am going through life. Let's say, for example, which actually currently is happening, the rent on the apartment that we are living in goes up by a few euros. With 1,200 euros in spendable money, 15 euros more in rent is actually a significant change. And that is something that I would not necessarily have to worry or even think about if the income is that much higher and if that is just the case. Something similar is happening with, for example, taking an evening as a date night, and that with Nicole, for example, and improving our life and relationship by doing so to spend that kind of a quality time together. And with that kind of an income, that would feel much more lightweight because it gives that security and freedom to actually be able to spend that kind of money. Now, the other things, and those are the bigger picture things, are reinvesting into the business as well as into life. But let's also talk about more of the bigger picture things, which are not just the miscellaneous, which may or may not be possible if you are just earning just a couple of euros here and there more. But what about the actual bigger expenses? Now, one of those is that with 40,000 euros a month, I would probably not live in the place where we are living right now. I would probably maybe not even live in the same country. For example, I could see ourselves moving to a place like Marbella in Spain, potentially checking out the island of Cyprus, and of course also traveling more, because that would open up so much more possibilities in creative freedom, but also in terms of the business and lifestyle that I already have lived as a digital nomad. But now with this kind of an income, it would be a more luxurious and easygoing experience. Of course, there's also this aspect of lifestyle inflation that I want to keep in the back of my head, because, of course, earning more money may not actually be something that is going to continue forever. So saving money is a really valuable thing, but on the other hand, it is also reinvesting in myself as well as the business, which is really important. But the topic of lifestyle inflation will be one that I want to talk about in a video coming up on this channel, which is about those money fears that I'm currently working through to also break free from more of those limiting beliefs. Now, something in the business realm, when considering an income of around 40,000 euros a month, would be that would open up potential for reinvestment. I have a list of equipment, basically, which would be my personal holy grail setup right now, with which I want to travel the world, go to different people, and potentially create videos with them as a podcast, maybe an interview show, documentary style things. And that investment list, if I take into consideration everything and I would just go out and buy everything, is around 30 to 35,000 euros, which to me sounds completely insane. Now, to the person that is envisioning the 40,000 euros per month, that's a no-brainer. That's a business investment that I can do with the snap of a finger. So that would also be alleviating a lot of stress and unleashing an unlimited amount of potential, which I would then be able to live with and work with. So that's incredibly exciting, and that is one of the main things that actually has me fired up about this kind of a consideration. But not only would it give me the opportunity to work with the equipment and gear that I dream about, it would also open up potential, for example, to have other people in this business working with me together. At first, I would probably start outsourcing based on the work that is currently necessary in terms of having a freelancer here and there for certain tasks in my business. But then potentially it could also lead to a full employment. And that is also actually something that is a complete positive of earning much more money, because based on that, you are then going into the opportunity, and with that also go into the responsibility of actually also supporting other families and those then coming to rely on you. So that's a daunting thing in itself, but also something that I find incredibly exciting and I think would be really rewarding. So those are some of the things that I am considering. Of course, those are not all of the things. And I have done a bunch more work in private with journaling as well as vision boarding to kind of like build that vision out more clearly. What kind of an apartment could I live in? What kind of an Airbnb might I be able to afford? Potentially going in first class or business class on trips and such kind of things. Traveling with more equipment comes with checking in maybe 2 suitcases. I have thought about a whole bunch of things which have me fired up because I want those opportunities. I want that joy, that lightness, and all of the possibilities that come with that. But of course, there's also this aspect of how do I have to change my approach if I actually want to get to those numbers and reach that goal. And one of the main things that I feel like that this exercise of thinking about 10xing just about everything and having these considerations is doing is focus. It creates a focus on the actual things that you have an impact on. One of those examples is that I am actually excited about certain software projects and little tools here and there, maybe an Alfred workflow, maybe some tool like Foxy Link and Push Notice. And all of those things are nice to have, and they are great hobbies for me right now because all of those things are actually working to the degree that I need them to work so that I can use them. But none of those things are making money. And all of those things would need a substantial amount of time and money invested to become actual businesses and earn an income. However, I know that YouTube is right now my #1 biggest source of income next to freelancing, which means that this is the actual thing that I should spend most of my time on to build this out, to actually focus my energy here, and with that, grow this income potential. So that's one of the first things that actually happened when I was starting to consider this was all of those other projects kind of fell away to the sides because I realized where my main income potential is as of right now. This may not be the same in half a year, maybe in 2 years. I don't know those things. But as of right now, this is the single most successful project that I have ever done. And so really taking that in, realizing it, feeling it, and with that, making my decisions based on this newfound realization, that I should probably not spend that much more time on those other projects if I currently have the goal of just simply growing my revenue stream, as in YouTube. The other thing is that even with YouTube, it focuses the attention span there as well. Now, I'm not perfect at that because I quite logically realize that even this video right now is not necessarily going to break my channel, or it's probably not going to break my channel in terms of going viral or anything like that. The searchable videos like product reviews and those kind of things are more or less the better bet right now. But I still want to bring this content because it is the content that I am excited about. It's the stuff that I wanted to share for such a long time, and I had a hard time going through with it and just setting myself down and talking to the camera like I am doing right now. And I hope that it is incredibly helpful for you as well to hear those thought processes. But at the end of the day, I also know that there are more important videos, maybe in terms of the technical tutorials and reviews kind of things. And I will spend more time and energy on those, but I am also spending more time and energy on this complete YouTube journey in general. Another thing in this as well is which parts of this YouTube workload are important. A part of me, for example, had this thought, what would happen if I were to make, let's say, the next 10 videos and I don't do any thumbnails whatsoever? I just choose one that YouTube suggests me and go with it. And this may or may not be an experiment that I will do. For now, I still have the consideration of thumbnails, and I will at least try to make thumbnails that are making sense. But I know for myself that thumbnails are one of the parts that are a lot of work because there's so much pressure on the thumbnail itself. So I have oftentimes a hard time enjoying the process of coming up with a quality thumbnail. And maybe that changes at some point. Maybe I have to devalue the thumbnail in my brain, at least, to kind of like lift off all of the responsibility of the thumbnail. But that's an extreme thought that may or may not impact how I can produce more videos if I don't have that reluctance about what kind of a thumbnail do I have to make here, how can I make this happen. Of course, there are also opportunities in shorts, which is another thing that I am considering in terms of how can I maybe branch out of what I am currently already doing and maybe even use certain types of videos in double fashion. So creating a YouTube version of a video and creating a reel or a short, which then can potentially also be posted to Instagram, TikTok, and all of those other platforms to also put on more growth on YouTube. Right now, however, I have decided not to focus on other platforms, which you may already know if you're also following me on Instagram, where I pretty much have not posted for the last half year. And that again comes back to this thing of focus. Instagram is a powerful platform, but right now, or the last few years, it has not been a place of growth for myself in my own experience. So I decided that I will not spend currently any productive time on Instagram and instead focus my energy on creating new videos for YouTube, creating shorts for YouTube, and expanding my reach on this platform, which is actually going to have an impact on this specific goal that I am currently focused on. Another thing which has little to do with YouTube itself is also another consideration around my life in general and where do I want to spend energy and time. And there are two aspects that I actually found which I started to think about more deeply. Number one was, how much time do I right now want to invest into self-improvement rather than building the YouTube channel? And self-improvement in that regard goes along the lines of watching a lot of videos, learning a lot of things, listening to podcasts, reading books, or listening to audiobooks and those kind of things, as well as also the world of working out. Because those things are labor intensive in some kind of a way. At least the working out is a lot of stuff that I need to get myself to go and do that. And if I want to just spend my energy on YouTube, maybe it's not the must-have as of right now. And I totally see a version of myself that will have more energy to do those things, but it is something that I want to put on the back burner in terms of I just want to do a workout if I actually feel like it if I absolutely want to do it and I know I have gotten a certain level of work done already. So that's something that I kind of like also lifted the responsibility of and made the whole process a little bit lighter, because it is right now not the main focus. And the same thing again goes for listening and watching a bunch of YouTube videos. I have seen so many videos over the last few years, heard so many books, read a lot, and now it is time to just simply take action and focus on doing what I know I have to do. So that is a big aspect of this as well. I am still not really good at this because I tend to, for example, start my days by watching or listening to a podcast first thing in the morning, and that tends to take about an hour, hour and a half. And maybe I also would like to shift away from that, but in some kind of a way, it is an indulgence right now, and it still is also a motivation aspect, because most of the time, at least, I am listening to people that are sharing something about their journey as an entrepreneur, and that can be extremely powerful. Now, I think this is enough for this video today, but if you have any questions around this topic, please leave those in the comment section down below. And also, if you have any experience with, for example, this 10x experiment, to think about how this could impact your life, and also how you would have to behave, who do you have to become to actually make those things happen, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you found this video helpful or interesting in some kind of a way, I also would appreciate a thumbs up, and maybe you will find one of these videos here interesting as well. Now, with all that said, take this idea, maybe also think about how 10xing a goal for yourself may actually change the approach to the goal, but also how it might actually impact your life if that would actually happen. So take that, make it your life, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.